Welcome to Write to Publish, your go-to podcast for all things writing and publishing. I'm Karen Stanley, a 14 times published author and the founder of Mabel and Stanley Publishing. Join me as I share a multitude of tips and insights drawn from my own writing and publishing journey. We'll be hearing from some inspirational authors too, who will share their writing experiences and top tips for success. Each week, we'll learn about an aspect of writing, from composition to genre and from publishing to marketing. Listen in as we learn and chat about all things writing and publishing, and let's get you on the right path.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Karen Stanley, and welcome to another episode of the Write to Publish podcast. It feels like an age since I've been speaking to you guys. We've had lots of lovely author interviews running throughout October and November. So now you've just back to me and my dulcet tones. So I'm really pleased to be joining you here today. Today, we're going to talk about something really important, which is building your author platform beyond the social media likes and those lovely engagement metrics that get us all excited. The truth is, if you don't build your author platform, no one's going to know you're there. I've had some long conversations about that this week, and especially and been talking about, you've got to let people know you're there, and that takes consistency. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen. It's not a one and done type deal. It's a keep going, and eventually that stone will gather the moss, and you'll eventually start to reap the rewards. So we're gonna talk about, every writer is doing this, but not so many are doing it well, maybe. And really, you want to get beyond the sort of those dopamine hits of the social media likes. Yay, I've got this many views. But actually, were those views purposeful? Want to move past those vanity metrics and do things that are actually building your profile, building your presence, building your visibility, really. And you might sometimes think, why is this so hard? Sometimes you'll post something out, you'll get like 3 likes, one from your mum and one from your best mate. But the point is, it's about consistency. And if you want to build the credibility, the visibility, and a readership that actually is going to buy your book, social media can't do the heavy lifting alone. It's one part of the marketing puzzle. It's an important part. Let's face it. We, like Madonna, we are living in a digital world, but we really need to think beyond just social media, although that's a real integral part of it. And we're going to also talk about why writing in isolation might be slowing you down, because it can be a lonely old business. So let's talk today about how to build that author platform. Today is the best day. They do say, when was the best time to start? Yesterday. When's the next best time to start? Today. So today is your day. So first of all, let's talk about why writing alone might be slowing you down. By definition, it's a solitary process, isn't it? We sit at a desk, we beaver away, we have snacks, we have a mug of something nice. We've probably got, crisps and biscuits and sweets on the side, but head down, really getting on with that writing. But sometimes it can be really tricky, and it can actually be a little bit limiting. So here's what happens sometimes when authors sort of write in isolation. You can make your book a bit weaker in that you've got no one to bounce your ideas off. You've got no one to test your message on. You've got no one to ask for feedback. And sometimes you can end up polishing something that was never quite right to start with. So getting those early views and that early feedback from people you trust, that is crucial. Don't ask, the Facebook keyboard warriors what they think about your first episode of your book or the first chapter of your book. Ask people that you respect, ask people that are interested in your genre, ask people that you value their opinion. But getting those ideas early on can save you from wasting time, actually, and can stop you from pursuing a project that's not quite right, or can give you some ideas or motivate you to take it down a different path that actually might be even better. So if you don't know that your idea is good before you start, that can be a problem. And also, you can slow your progress. So this is important point number 2. So accountability is rocket fuel. No matter what you're doing, whether you're writing, whether you're running, not something I'm ever likely to do, whether you're, trying to eat sensibly, having that accountability, having someone to check in with, having someone to keep you on track and say, come on, Karen, you said you were going to write 5,000 words this week. How have you got on? Or knowing that you're going to check in with that person and go, oh, I said I was going to write 5,000 words and I've only written 5. I might need to get my act into gear. Can be hugely motivating and can really keep you on track. Nothing worse than a writing project that drifts and drifts and drifts, because the more it drifts, the less likely it is to get finished, and the more likely you are to run out of steam and get a little bit tired of it, really, I guess. And also, if you write alone, you might delay your ability to attract readers. So if you start your project, you go to launch and you go, ta-da, here I am. They'll be like, who are you? Okay. So sometimes having that group of people to bounce ideas off of, having that group of people to network, having that group of people to get you out and about is really important. And that brings us on to our next point is that, the visibility. We're all about the visibility. So getting out with people, attracting the right people, being in that, finding your tribe, being in that group, in that world, can really help you when it comes to launching. And finally, on the sort of writing in isolation point, is you're going to miss opportunities, things like connections, collaborations, podcast invitations, guest articles, all of these things will come up somewhere along the line, and they're kind of, you can show up publicly as you write, which is really helpful. But that is also about networking. The more you network, the more you get out there, and your writing tribe is going to be your network in this instance. So isolation, it can slow you down creatively, for sure. It can slow you down in the form of not having any accountability, but also it can really be an important part of your visibility. The more you network with other writers, say, oh, did you know I'm attending this author event today? Or did you know I've found this podcast that accepts writers to talk about their latest books? All of those things are going to help your visibility. So not only is that kind of networking going to keep you accountable, inspired and motivated, it's also going to help with your accountability, your visibility, rather, as well. So now let's talk about why it's never too early to build your author platform. So new authors, they fall into sort of several kind of traps. They wait until the book is finished, too late. They wait until they feel confident. Spoiler alert, you only really feel confident by doing something that you don't feel confident about, if that makes sense. So the more you do it, the more confidence you will build and the more confident you will become. But if you don't ever start that process, how are you going to get more confident? And shock horror, you might never feel confident enough to start, and then you're going to start procrastinating, putting off doing something that you're a bit scared of, so then you never do it. You're waiting for perfection. And as I always say, let go of perfection. Perfection is poverty. It hinders progress like nothing else. It's better to take imperfect action than keep waiting for the right time, which may never come. And some people will wait until they know more, or they feel ready, or they've got more time. Again, these are classic procrastination techniques that we've all used at length at times. So if we all waited until we felt ready, we wouldn't have any books in the world, would we? People wouldn't kind of take that challenge, take the punt, feel the fear, all of those lovely sayings that kind of are supposed to help you in your journey. So the first important thing about why it's never too early to start building your author platform, and that is because trust takes time. People don't instantly see you pop up in the world and go, oh yeah, of course I'll buy everything that you've got to sell me, and of course I'm going to think you're an amazing writer, and of course I'm going to buy all of your books. They don't know who you are, which is why a lot of celebrities do very well with books, because they've already got that know, like and trust. But that takes time. People have built that reputation over time. They've built that credibility. They've built that following. They've built that kudos, if you like. So by you waiting to start until your book is ready, you're sort of You've got to start from ground zero. Whereas if you start building your author platform from the moment you start writing your book, by the time you launch your book in 3 or 6 months' time, you've done all of the heavy lifting when it comes to visibility. The other thing is, if you get an early audience, you get early feedback. Again, going back to beta readers, going back to people telling you what they think, what they liked, what they loved, what maybe didn't work for them. This is all really, really crucial information, and it can really help you to grow as a writer. And it can help you to shape what you're writing to meet. Now, I'm not suggesting you absolutely write to market, but if I don't know, your series of books, there's been one thing that people are saying, no, that doesn't quite gel with me. I'd love to see it if it went down this path, or I'd love to see this character introduced. Then you can do that if you think it's a good idea, of course. But you can kind of write to what your audience is looking for, which is going to make you much more successful, because you're giving people what they want, and people want to receive what they want. Now, your momentum again. So this is why it's not too early to start. You're building that momentum before you launch. A launch can be quite stressful because it's a lot to think about. It's scary enough anyway when you release your book baby into the world, and you've got all of those fears and doubts and the imposter syndrome and all of that stuff that goes on. So you don't really want to be worrying about, oh my God, is anyone going to turn up, whether that be a physical launch or an online launch. You'll know that audience is waiting for you because you've built them, you've warmed them up, you've nurtured them, and you've got them ready. So it's like, it's like, I don't know, making a loaf of bread, and then when you go to serve it to your guests, realizing you've got no butter. Yeah, you're doing that in preparation for the grand event. For the big launch, you've got people waiting for what you want to sell. And again, marketing 101. If you haven't got an audience, if you don't know who that audience are, if they're not waiting for you to sell stuff, they're not going to know you're there or who you are. You're basically opening a shop and not telling anyone the address. So it's never too late to start that. And it just means that you'll feel a lot more confident when you launch, because you know you've got that warm audience and you know who you're launching to. If you're launching cold, you don't know that anybody's waiting or even slightly interested in what you're about to launch. That's a scary process anyway, and you're going to be doomed to more failure if you've left it to the last minute. The other important thing is platforms grow slowly, but they do compound. So I'm just going to look at my figures here. So an email list of 10 will then lead on to 20, then 100, then 1,000, but only if you start. Okay. So if you're thinking, oh yeah, but I haven't even started writing my book yet, as per my earlier point. Okay. So, but if you then go to launch it, who are you going to launch it to? So I had another conversation with a gentleman today talking about promotion and marketing, etc., and about it not being a one and done. And well, I only got 10 likes. Well, how many times did you post? Well, I posted once. That's not even, you need to be consistent. You need to show up regularly. People need to keep seeing you popping up in their feed and going, oh, I quite like her. She's quite funny. Or I love what she's got to say. I can't wait for her book to come out. Yeah. If you haven't built that buzz, as it were, no one's waiting, and you don't know where it's going to go. And yes, you will start really, really slowly. You will start with one person on your email list, but quickly that one person becomes 2, and that 2 people becomes 4, and that 4 people becomes 8. And then as soon as you start to email out, someone else will tell someone else, and then you start posting consistently, and someone will tell someone they've seen you because you've started posting. And from where you were getting 1 like, then you'll get 2, and then you might get 4, and then you might get 8. Yeah. So don't be too hard on yourself. Don't be impatient. This stuff takes time, and it takes consistency. You are far better to post once a week consistently than to post 7 times in 1 week and then not post for 2 months. There's no point to that, because people will have forgotten who you are, and you've got to start all over from scratch again. So make sure that you're consistent and you're patient. Marketing is a long game. It's not a one and done. And then the other thing is, you're building your author platform beyond those social media likes, because likes don't necessarily equal sales. They don't necessarily equal loyalty. They don't necessarily equal readers. Someone might like your stuff and still never buy from you. So you really want to get away from those vanity metrics. It's about engaging with the public. It's about the public engaging with you. It's about that visibility and that credibility. Okay. So now let's look at the things that you need to do in order to get that credibility and to get that visibility. We've talked a little bit about email lists, we've talked a little bit about social media, but let's dive into that in depth a little bit more. So there is that school of thought that your email list is the most powerful asset that you own, because at the end of the day, if social media went down or crashed or what have you, or you got banished from the platform, or your account got banned for whatever reason, we've seen it happen 100 times, all of your information could potentially be lost. Your email list, you own it. You've got those people's addresses. You've got them to speak to. You can still get in touch with them if you want to. So growing your email list, again, it's not a very quick thing to do, but it will yield dividends in the long run, particularly if you're writing a series of books, because if that list have bought your first book, then there's likelihood they're going to buy your second book, particularly if they loved it. So things that you can do: offering a lead magnet, which could be a newsletter, could be a snippet from your book, could be a little competition giveaway, it could be a sample chapter, it could be a little bit about your writing process, it could be use your name for my next character, that kind of something that lures people in, gets them into your world, and then you've got them. You've got their information, providing obviously they give you their permission, and then you can email them and nurture them and say, guess what, I've got this coming up, and did you know about this, and I'm really excited to share this. You're building that relationship, because people buy from people, and it's relationships that you want to build. So growing that email list, really, really important. And when you come to launch, you've got a whole list of names and addresses waiting for that launch, waiting to buy from your link. Doesn't need to be fancy, but it does need to be consistent. Writing a blog is a great way to gain traction when it comes to visibility on your website. We'll talk about website in a minute. And then you can send out newsletters based on your blog. There's lots of things that you can do, but you really do want to be growing that email list. So the next thing is your website or your landing page. Doesn't need to be huge. It just needs to be somewhere that people can come to find out more about you, and any links. You can put links on there to buy your books, any courses if you're running sort of writing courses, or sign up for your newsletter, or anything that gives them a little bit of information about you, where to find you, how to find you, and of course it's a bit more about that social proof. If you can, blogging is a great way to raise the profile of your website, particularly if you make it SEO or keyword rich. So when people are searching online, hopefully you will come up in their searches, and it will make you more visible. So blogging is a really good way. And also that's something that you can send out in your newsletter or into your emails. So that's a great thing that you do. And as a writer, it's a great way for you to share. I mean, look at Charles Dickens. He was the ultimate early blogger. He used to write his stories in series in publications, didn't he? So, it's early blogging, really. It's getting that visibility out. So he was a pioneer, old Charles Dickens, in more ways than one. Being a guest on podcasts or any kind of platform with an existing audience. So what you're doing here is you're collaborating. You're making use of someone else's audience to help you spread your message. Getting on podcasts, talking about your book, talking about your writing, getting into magazines and newspapers. I've done little author events and got myself in the local press. Anywhere that you can collaborate. If you've written a book, for example, I use my good friend Samantha Ward Smith, who wrote The Tower of Vengeance. She has long volunteered at the Tower of London. So she had some people who worked in the Tower who had really large audience who were happy to share out her book for her, because her book has a mention to the Ravens, which are obviously very closely connected to the Tower of London. So she used those contacts in a way that they were happy to help her share her work out there. But that collaboration was really powerful for her. So any kind of podcast or influencer or organization that's relevant to your genre. For example, I don't know if you've written a children's book about dogs, you might want to collaborate with the Dogs Trust, something like that. But looking for people who've got nice big audiences who understand your message and buy in and are happy to support your message and using those platforms to further raise your visibility. Podcasts are great for that, and podcasts are a real they're the thing, aren't they now? People listen to podcasts all over. I've talked a little bit about blogging, but also articles on platforms like LinkedIn. This will build your authority. It will strengthen your message, particularly if you're a business author. LinkedIn's an absolute powerhouse. It's a treasure trove of connections, and people are going to find you on there. So if you can manage it, writing one piece a month is enough to build traction. And you can publish it as an article on LinkedIn, or you can publish it as a blog, or both. Very, very useful for building your visibility. And also, perhaps you could think about community building. So you can consider online writing communities, genre specific groups, places where your readers are going to hang out. Book clubs, libraries, author sign-ins, all of those things. Where is your author likely to hang out? And is your reader likely to hang out? And is that going to help you to build your profile? So I hope that's been helpful today. There's loads of ways in which you can build your author platform, but I think the key message here is it's never too early to start, to have faith, to trust in the process. It's a long game, but be consistent. Whatever your strategy looks like, make sure you're consistent. Don't post 100 times in 1 week and then disappear. That's not going to work for you. If you have any questions about today's episode, or you want some ideas for building your author platform, then please do get in touch, Karen at Mabel and Stanley Publishing, and I'm always happy to answer your questions and help you in whatever way I can. If you are looking for a writing community, then my Write Now members community is a great place for you to grow as a writer. We have accountability meetups, we have tutorials, we have networking events, and we have a huge bank of resources designed to help you learn, grow, and develop as a writer. So if that's something you're interested in, you can visit the website, mabelandstanleypublishing.com, or again, you can email me, Karen at mabelandstanleypublishing.com. It's been wonderful to speak to you all. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Please do like, share and follow if you can, as it helps us to get our message out to more lovely writers. Great speaking to you today. Have a wonderful week and see you all again soon.